Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Learning Lab. For this month, we're going to be going over WMS in the food industry. And I wanted to say a little bit at the beginning here. So this is going to be the first of some industry-specific learning labs that we're going to do. And the cool thing about these is it gives us an opportunity to showcase some tailorings that are common in those industries too. So we're not only going to talk about the out-of-the-box product and how you can use that product in that industry, right? So today with the food industry, we're going to talk about some of the specific nuances in plain standard agility that are very common in the food industry. But we're also going to talk about some tailorings to give you ideas on how your customers or yourself can better leverage agility to satisfy some of those specific industry specific needs. So that's going to be one of the really interesting parts of this. We have two completely tailored applications and then another application with a small tailoring that we'll showcase in that. But the majority of this will be out of the box product. All right, before we get into the learning lab though, I want to just introduce myself. So I always leave my camera on for this. Hi, everybody. I'm Chase Linson-Bigler. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off now so you can focus on the content. And what I do here at WiSys is I manage our partner enablement. So with that, I'm a former customer-facing consultant. I learned the product during my time in consulting and learned all the ins and outs of the out-of-the-box product as well as how to tailor our applications. So I moved over here to the business development side to just come over and continue educating our partner base. We have a very strong partner base with some really educated partners that know how to leverage the design tools and build things like what I'm going to show you in today's learning lab. But in addition to that, I'm over here on that side of things, helping those partners with continued training, answering their questions, solving problems, right, and just working to grow our partnerships. A big piece of that are our learning labs, which are going to be on the second Tuesday of each month from 2:30 to 3:30 EST going forward. So same time slot as today if you want to be available for those in the future. We do only send out invites about a week in advance, so you can mark that time on your calendar. I always say that with every learning lab, but I always get the questions that people want to make sure they're available for these. That's the best way to do it because we don't send out the invite that far in advance. So make sure to book that time up if you want to have that slot available. Next week for my partners here, we will be at the Partner Summit in Phoenix, Arizona. So we'll be doing our learning lab kind of on site next week and actually going through the product at the show. I'll have Aaron Armendariz and Ron Cortez with me that are both on the learning lab today. So come see us in Phoenix and we'll show plenty of the product in person.
Chase, that's next month, just so everybody knows, not next week.
Next month, sorry. Yeah, not next week, next month's learning lab. I don't do these every week, thankfully, because that would be a lot. All right.
All good. We'll be on site to do that there.
Yep. Yeah, and in addition to all of that, for my partners on the call, if I'm not working with you currently, just so you have an idea of the resources that I offer on the partner enablement side, we do introduction training with all of our partners, just showing you the ins and the outs of the out-of-the-box product. We can do in-depth training for the design tools to teach you how to tailor applications like the tailored apps I'm going to show today. And then we also offer standing team meetings, that could be bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, however you want it, just to go through your WiSys punch list, so to speak, answer any questions, talk about any issues you have, discuss processes and potential tailorings for prospects and customers, any of those types of things. So any partners that I'm not doing something like that with today, reach out after the call, set something up. I want to try and have time dedicated to every partner on my schedule. So, let's get some time on the calendar together. All right. So now let's get into it. What are we going to cover today? So today we're going to go through essentially a case study, right, on a company that manufactures and distributes food products. So this company does candy. On the wholesale side of things, they have a third party that manufactures things like licorice, gummy candy, that type of stuff. So with that, they actually receive that product in and distribute it. Then on the chocolate side, chocolate bars, chocolate candies, we do manufacturing for that food product, right? So we make our own chocolate bars. So today we'll go through, the beginning of the item's life on both of those levels, right? So the wholesale distribution piece, bringing in licorice is what we're going to do, and then making chocolate bars. Then after that, we'll talk just mildly about, tracking of the item during its life cycle and when it's in the warehouse, but we're going to really laser our focus in there on batch and expiration date tracking, because that is of course one of the big focuses here in the food industry, right? Is making sure we understand expiration dates, we're staying on top of that, and we're getting things out of our warehouse and not distributing them to customers when they expire or are close to expiring. Then on the fulfillment side, we'll talk about packaging for food products and how to fulfill orders in a couple of different ways. I'm going to tie the packaging into fulfillment today, but the same things I do for packaging on the fulfillment end could also be done for the regular inventory end if that was desired, right? Packaging kind of works both ways, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a shipment. So just keep that in mind. The same things I'm doing could be done for standard inventory. On the fulfillment side, we're going to really look at a cash and carry / stock room type of situation there. That'll be the first type of fulfillment we'll look at, which is very common in this industry, of course. Then after that, we'll look at trucking when you have your own personal trucks. We'll do an LTL shipment, taking, just one of this candy company's box trucks around the local area, right, to stock several convenience stores. So they have a trucking route. They're going to stock some convenience stores. That's the type of process we're going to look at there. And then lastly, I'm just going to gloss over how Agility shipping could play into this as well if you do some, online sales through your website. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to jump to SAP. And first, we're going to take a look at a purchase order. That's where we're going to start today. Again, we're going to be receiving in some licorice. So in this case, I'm receiving in this licorice product. Our item number is LI3550, and we're just going to do a goods receipt PO for that of 200. So first, I'm going to go to my desktop here, and I'm going to open up my Agility Mobile emulator. Today, I'm using the Agility Mobile emulator. That's our legacy handheld product. It's not very different from Agility 360. The functionality, in fact, is exactly the same. Mostly what you're going to see here is there's a little bit of a different appearance, some blues and yellows like the classic SAP B1 look, as compared to the orange of Agility 360, but essentially the same product. We're going to go to my Gen Demo database, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my goods receipt PO application here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get started with our order. So again, jumping back here, we have this order 882 and 200 of our licorice product. So I'm going to start by just scanning in my purchase order number. And if you've seen our product in action before, this is going to be very familiar to you because this part of the process is pretty standard here. I'm going to go ahead then and scan in my item, which is my licorice. And now here's where we get to the food industry specific, important pieces that we want to really focus on. So this is a batch tracked item. Most of these food items are going to be. Everything we're working with today is going to be batch tracked. Now, a big piece of this is we want to make sure we have expiration date tracking on. So I'm going to jump back to my desktop here and open up Agility Explorer, because I want to show you how to take advantage of some different batch specific fields, right? Specifically expiration date tracking, but we'll talk a little bit about manufacturer's batch as well. So if I go up here to File and I go to Options and WMS, pretty simple here. My Essentials options, if I go to my General tab, I have the ability to turn on some different functionality for batch and serial tracking. So essentially what happens with these forms, once I've scanned in an item like I have here, a flag goes off in the background that tells me, okay, that item's batch tracked. Now, if all of these boxes are unchecked, it's just gonna, add the batch field onto the screen. Or if it's serial tracked, then I'm gonna have the serial field on the screen, right? But whenever a box is checked, it adds some additional functionality there. So now whenever the batch flag is throwing yes, it's also going to add in expiration date. If I checked manufacturer's batch, that could be on the screen as well. And that just gives you a little bit of additional functionality for batches. Now, of course, with food products, we want to have expiration date on there. What we're doing in this case is, this product is coming in from our manufacturer for our licorice products. I'm going to want to scan or type in the batch number that they provide to me, right? That's on the actual bag of licorice candy there. And then I'm also going to want to enter in the expiration date that are on that batch of licorice candy. So we want to make sure that we grab that batch that's associated with those expiration dates as our batch in SAP. But I did want to make note that we also could use that manufacturer batch for additional tracking, right? One common example, something that jumps in my mind right away, especially in the food industry, is if we wanted to use that for an additional batch field to talk about the truck that it came in on, right? So we could have, manufacturer's batch turned on and pass into that field something like 03/12/2024 for the date dash truck one, right? And then that way we know if one batch that was on that truck one today, is all melty or spoiled or has some kind of problem, right? Maybe it looks like it's been ripped into by an animal or something like that. Then we can take a look at the other batches that were also on that same truck that may have, dealt with the same problem and may have the same deficiencies. So that's another thing to note. Some companies do leverage the manufacturer's batch field in that way. But for today's sake, our candy company is not going to do that. We're just going to care about batch and expiration date. So now I'm going to proceed here. So I don't have a barcode on this package of licorice, right? I'm just going to find the batch and read it and type it in. So I'm going to do 557H59L3. And then the expiration date here is going to be August 23rd. Hit enter. And that's going to be all of the batches on this shipment. So this is a pretty easy one, right? We got a shipment in of 200 of this item. All 200 fit that batch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 200 here. Now, if I did have multiple different batches in this shipment, I would just do 100 here, right? That remaining calculation would change, and then I would go through and just do the additional batch. But we only have one batch this time, so we do that. Now we know our goods receipt is good, right? There's nothing else remaining. If we check the items on the list, there's no open quantity, nothing else. So we can go ahead and post to SAP. And you can see here I have my system bin location hard coded into bin here. That is because in this case, it's my receiving bin. So I am going to have those products received directly into that system bin location because it's my receiving bin. I can also print to screen my labels for that. These would just print out automatically in the warehouse. I could put that on, the box or on every individual bag if I wanted of the licorice. And now I can jump back to SAP and refresh my purchase order here. And we'll see that it's closed out. And if we check our relationship map, we do indeed have our goods receipt PO that we just created. So that's really the first step here, right? We brought the products in, we did the goods receipt PO. Again, pretty standard based on what you've seen from a typical WiSys process here, except we're making sure we're tracking those expiration dates. And now we just need to go and put that product away. And first, for some additional tracking here, and we can go ahead and close out of our purchase order because we're done with that now. For some additional tracking here, I'm going to go back to my desktop, or actually I have Agility Explorer open. In Agility Explorer, I'm going to go to my inventory tab, and we're going to go ahead and open up our batch availability with bins grid here. So batch availability with bins allows me to see all of the various batches that I have in my system, right? So you can see the batch, you actually can link it back to B1. If I click on this here, it'll actually open the batch details in B1. It allows me to see the expiration date, the date I received it in, what item and item group it belongs to, how many, so on and so forth, right? So I can get all my batch details, with one click of a button. I just open up this grid and I have everything batch related here for me. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to find our new batch. So I'm just going to simply sort this by in date, and we're going to go to the most recent batches that have come in. So here's our blue licorice that we just did, 577H59L3, and that's in our system bin location. So now I'm just going to jump here to my put away application, and put that away, right? So we received it in directly to our receiving bin. Now we can go ahead and put it away into standard inventory. And then at that point, the product will essentially be out of sight, out of mind, so to speak, right? It's going to be on the shelf. It's going to be living in the warehouse until the day comes when it is ready to be allocated to a sales order and, you know, given to the customer in the fulfillment process. I'm just going to scan a bin here. We're going to put it in bin 0517, and I'm going to do all 200. And at that point here, now if we go to our lookup, you'll see that that item is not on the lookup anymore. It is, you know, not in this system bin location. It's been put away. And if we jump back here and refresh our grid, we'll see our new bin 0517 right there for the item. And now it's in stock, right? So there's the first leg of the process for this company. We receive in some licorice because we distribute that product in addition to our candy bars that we make. Now we have some licorice in the system. We're going to go ahead and make some candy bars now quickly. So if I jump back to B1, we have our production order here for our candy bar. You can see a pretty simple bill of materials here. We have 3 ingredients: chocolate, caramel, peanuts. That's all, right? It's called a WiSys bar. And 1 unit of each of these makes 200 WiSys bars. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make a count of 200 WiSys bars. Then we also have some back flushed items here for labor, and then our foil WiSys bar wrapper, right? So the first leg in this process is going to be issuing the manual issue products, right? So here I actually, you know, need to manually issue chocolate, caramel, and peanuts because they're sitting in my warehouse physically right now. They're not at the production site. So I need to go grab those items and bring them over for production. That's where we're going to start. The backflushed items are already at production, and they will be issued out of the system automatically upon receipt of the finished good. So first, we're going to go ahead and go grab our chocolate, caramel, and peanuts. So if I open back up Agility Mobile here and jump to production, we can go to our production issue application, and we can go through and grab each of those products. So here we can go ahead and, 615 is my order. Oh, I need to release it. It is only planned. So I'm going to update that here. And now 615 is released. So we're good to go. You see the real-time aspect there of WiSys as well, right? There's a good live example of that. It was not released. We got an error, released it in SAP, and instantaneously we're good to go now on the handheld. Now I can go and grab my various items. So if I use my lookup here, I can see everything that needs issued to create the WiSys bar, right? So I need 1 unit of chocolate. So I'll go ahead and grab that. It's only in this bin 05A1, pretty simple, issue 1. And I could print a screen here and issued production issue label here, put that on the chocolate that I grabbed, take it over to the production area. That way I know, okay, this product has been issued in the system. I can continue through. So next we're going to do our caramel. Same thing. We only got 1 bin for it. Ton of caramel in that 1 bin. We grab 1 unit. In this case, it's like 1 pound. And I could print my label again. We'll skip that though. We don't need to print every time. All right, and 1 more. We're going to do a pound of peanuts here for our WiSys bars. Same thing. I'll just skip the print for the sake of speed. If I could press the right buttons here. All right, now all 3 ingredients have been issued. So if we jump back in SAP, pretty simple. If I refresh this, these all change to 1. And there you go. All of those have been issued. Now we're ready to start making our chocolate bar, right? All the ingredients reside in our production area now. The backflushed items were there to begin with. These 3 items have now been issued from regular standard inventory, moved from standard inventory into my production area, ready to go and ready to become a part of our WiSys bar. So now on the handheld, I'm simply going to go over to my production receipt form. But in this case, I do have a slight tailoring to this form as well. Our out-of-the-box production receipt does not do batch expiration date tracking. It only tracks batches, not expiration dates. So here, I did a very simple tailoring. And when I say simple, I mean, in this case, you add 1 field, and then you make sure you pass whatever you put in that field into the transaction. So it's literally a two-step process. Took me about 5 minutes. In here, in this tailoring, what I am doing is I'm just adding an expiration date, right? I'm in the food industry. I'm making these chocolate bars. They're not going to be good forever, unfortunately, right? So my WiSys bar needs to have an expiration date added to it upon receipt of the finished good here. So I'm going to go to my order 615. All I need to do is real simple. I just need to tell it what batch I'm going to assign to this item. Now, in this case, I wanted to show you guys what this is like. So I'm going to assign the batch manually. That's how this company is going to operate. But if you saw my past learning lab on serial and batch builder, you would have also seen that we can automatically generate batches based on rules you set in your WiSys settings. So in a lot of cases, you're probably going to have companies that are going to do something like that, right? They'll use our serial and lot builder to, tell the system, hey, if I'm making a batch tracked item in production, I want the batch to be the date dash a static 01 dash item code, right? Something like that. That's going to be the batch. Now, in this case, this company does not do it that way. But if you want to see that live, you can check out that prior learning lab on serial and batch builder. I just didn't want to go into all the details on that today because that's a whole learning lab in itself. All right, so I'm going to give it a batch. So we'll do 556 GH13F0 and an expiration date. So here I know this product is going to be good for 3 months. So we'll just go to July 12th. And then I'm going to do a quantity. And the full quantity of 200, of course, is going to be for this batch and expiration date because it's all being made together. And when we hit enter here, we can print the screen a label for our finished good. There you go, 200 WiSys bars. We put them all into a box, put that label on it. They're going to go into our production bin where the finished goods go, 05P. And they're going to need put away. But first, if we jump over here and refresh, we'll now see those backflush items have been issued. And if we go to our relationship map, we'll see our receipt from production for the 200 finished goods there, or WiSys bar. So we no longer need this production order, but I do want to jump in here and just show you if we refresh here. Here's our complete new batch, right, for our WiSys bar. It's sitting in 05P. And now same process we did before with the licorice. We can put that away into standard inventory, and that's when the fun really starts. The products are in the warehouse, then we can talk about fulfillment and batch tracking as well. So here, I'm going to scroll through here and find the item, right? You see I have a lot of items that were produced today. There's my candy bar. I could have scanned that as well. So just so you can see the speed, pick up my candy bar. It's in my production bin, scan it. Then the batch, of course, there's only going to be one batch this time. Grab the right batch, pick a bin you're going to move it to. I'll use that 0517 I used before. And I'm just going to do the full quantity of 200 there. Now that product is put away. If we refresh here again, our bin changes to 0517. It's put away into inventory. We're ready to go now. Again, out of sight, out of mind, right? This product has been created. It's in the warehouse. It's sitting on shelves in physical inventory. We don't need to worry about it now. We know where it's at. And, we're going on with our daily lives and fulfilling sales orders based on the batches that are going to expire the soonest, right? So now we kind of transition into that line of thought that we need to focus on expiration dates, and we need to really focus on two things: making sure expired product gets out of the system, does not get distributed to customers, and making sure product goes out to customers before it is going to expire, right? Those are kind of the two big focuses here when we talk about expiration dates. So before we get on to the fulfillment side, I want to talk a little bit about that first case, discussing, getting expired product out of the system. So here I am in my batch availability with bins grid. I see that expiration dates are here, and I see I have some that are in fact expired in my warehouse right now, but there's no visual cue with this out of the box grid. Well, the reason being, we can add conditional formatting so that every user can change the way the grid displays things, right? So in this case, I'm going to go down to my conditional formatting, because I want to have an idea of, okay, do I have expired product in the warehouse right now, and how much, how frequently is this happening, right? So I'm going to go to conditional formatting. I'm going to do highlight cell roles, and I'm going to do less than, and I'm going to say if the expiration date is less than today, which means it's been expired, right? It's an expired product. I'm going to fill it with red text. Now, today I'm going to operate off the assumption, right, that I just want to get rid of product that is currently expired, and anything else is fine to go out to these convenience stores or these customers. A lot of companies probably have rules around that as well, right? Maybe they want to get it out 30 days before it expires, or they're going to write it off, right? Something like that. But in this case, I'm just going with what's already expired. So I'm sending it to today's date, red fill with red text. We can see right away, lights up, right? Our expired batches here are lit up on the grid. And I know now, if I'm only worried right now about licorice and candy bars, I have a set of 22 candy bars here that are expired and a set of 18 bags of licorice that are expired. So I'm going to use a tailored application that my WiSys consultant has created for me. I made myself, but in this case, we're going to pretend our WiSys consultant created it for us. And I'm going to use that to issue out expired batches. So I'm going to go to this expired batch issue. And for any of you that watch my tailoring of the month video, I actually show you how to create this form in the tailoring of the month video. Now, it's not perfect. I didn't spend a ton of time refining it, but for our purposes today, it's going to work like a charm. So the point of this form is it's going to allow you to do a goods issue for expired batch items and only expired batch items. So you will be prevented from choosing any batches that are not expired, anything that doesn't have an expiration date, or even any items that are not batch tracked, right? And we achieve this by filtering the form. So we filter the form by adding this expired batch at the top. So the first piece of information you select is the expired batch number. And then after that, we know everything else that we need, right? We will know the warehouse, the item, the bin, even the quantity, all based on that expired batch you select. So first, it's worth showing, if I pick a batch that's not expired here, so this line I have expires on 3/14, so that's fine right now. So if I enter in this batch, it's going to be YYR56 3DF32. I'm going to get an error back. Batch does not exist because it doesn't exist in that group called expired batches, right? It's not expired. I can't select that, right? Now, if I go to my list here and I search for, let's start with our licorice, we'll see that we only have that one batch available there to pick of our licorice, is 522937 BCE. So here you can see I have on hand, I have the item, I have that batch, right? So I can match that batch up here. And then I have the expiration date. So I could either select it from here or search it. Let's just go ahead and scan that barcode, or type in that barcode in this case, so that we can go ahead and find that expired batch. So that is my 522937 BCE. And as you see, it automatically filters in all of the information for that batch. No error this time because it knows it is expired. It checks that expiration date. And again, I do have that expiration date to be set to today's date. So, if you want to get those out of the system 30 days before they expire or 15 days before they expire, you can do today's date, plus 15 or plus 30, whatever you need to do there. So now I have it defaulted to automatically issue out the entire set of batches, but I do give the user the ability to manually overwrite that in certain situations. So say we see that there's 18 expired in the warehouse, but right now I only found 12. So I want to go actually physically find the other 6 before I issue them out. I want to know where they are and what has happened with them. So I'm going to clear this here, enter in 12, hit enter. And it's going to print out for me a goods issue label that I can slap on the product, right? Say I issued these out, I put this label on, I'll go sit these in a expired product bin, right? And the manager checks it at the end of the day to make sure everything is in fact expired. So now that product is good. I can close out of my form. And if I go to that expired batch here, we're going to see the quantity drop from 18 to 6. There we go. And I issued it out of the system, right? Now, pretty simple. If I want to go back in there and issue the rest out, so if I go back to that batch, and if I want to issue the rest out, I can quickly do that. Again, I could print a label. We're going to skip that. And if I go back here, we'll see that quantity is now completely out of the system, right? That batch has dropped off of our batch availability list. It's gone. So again, this is not an out of the box process or an out of the box application because it really depends on the way that the company using it wants it to work, right? There's a lot of different ways you can accomplish this situation of getting batches out of your WMS system. But in this case, my candy company, this is the way we want to do it. We only want to do batches that are already expired, and we just want a form that, completely makes the process as basic as possible. It tells you everything you need to do, filters in all that information automatically, and even guides you to the right quantity. So it's a very, very simple process. So we use that simplified form, and we can issue products out of the system. So that's a little piece I wanted to talk about with expiration dates, expiration date tracking. This is a really good area to track here. You can use that conditional formatting to quickly find your expired product. That's all very easy to do. And then a tailored form like that one I just used can quickly get that product out of the system, something like that expired batch issue. You could even tailor the grid to add a button on it to click on this line and issue that out of the system, right? There's a ton of ways you can accomplish that, and that's why we leave it open-ended for our customers to decide what process fits them best. All right, so now we're going to get into the fulfillment side of things. Again, I'm going to show you in detail 2 fulfillment processes and talk a little bit about a third. But these are, again, very common processes here for the food industry. So the first is going to be talking a little bit about like a stockroom approach or a cash and carry situation. So I'm going to jump over to B1. I'm going to open up my sales order here. And we're starting with this sales order 1127 for store 001. So here's the case, right? Let's say kind of like, again, a cash and carry type of situation, except I do have a call ahead in this situation. So I added a sales order to SAP. Ben Jones, the manager for store 001, that's maybe just 20 minutes away in the city where this stock room is, he calls up and he says, hey, I'm running really low on WiSys bars and licorice. My shipment from you guys is not going to be until Friday. It's Tuesday. Can I come up and grab 5 of each just to hold me over? I feel like that'll be enough. You say, okay, when will you be up? He says he's going to be up an hour. All right. We're planning on Ben Jones to come up. So we go ahead and put a sales order in the system, right? So now we know Ben Jones is going to be headed up to pick up this product. So we have a sales order in here. Now we're not going to create a full shipment for it. It's not going out on a box truck. It doesn't need a shipment or tracking with Agility shipping for UPS or FedEx or anything like that. We're not even going to package these items because he's just going to come up with a tote bag and we're going to put 5 of each in his tote. So pretty simple situation here. We can accomplish that just using our standard sales order delivery application on the Agility mobile handheld here. So that's where we're going to start for this process, right? And just to offer you another similar situation here, that's more of a cash and carry style. Let's say this was like a stock room. Maybe I know it's the morning and I know that I am almost out of licorice and WiSys bars from the night before in my actual storefront. And I have this stock room in the back where I have 5 of each. So I'm just going to make a sales order in the system and put these 5 out onto the floor because I know they're going to sell or something like that, right? There's different ways to accomplish these types of things, but this is good. Sales order delivery is good for stockroom situations or cash and carry where somebody's just coming in and grabbing a few products on a per case basis from the back room essentially here. All right, so I'm going to go to sales order delivery. We're going to go to order 1127. And we're going to go ahead and do our first item. So we have 5 of each of these items. I'm going to start with my licorice here. And then I'm going to need to go to a bin and take a certain batch. I believe I do have some in my bin 0517. And I do. I have a couple different batches here. So let's go ahead and just grab this BHH 344567. In this case, we're letting the warehouse employee just grab something quickly. We basically are taking the approach in this situation. We want to just fulfill Ben's order as quickly as possible and get him back on his way. So we're not really caring as much about fulfillment. We didn't make a pick list. We didn't make a entire process around this. It's just, hey, Ben said he's coming up. Let's put in a sales order and let's get him his product and get him back to work. Now I'm going to scan in my WiSys bar here. Same thing. I think I have some in 517. Grab a batch from there. We'll grab this. Oh, that's the one we added today, actually. So he gets some fresh chocolate bars we just made today. Do a quantity of 5 and hit save. Now I've gone through both products. If I look at my item lookup here, no items are in there, so nothing comes back because I have, in fact, went through and fulfilled the entire order for all the products on it. So now I can simply go and post those into SAP Business One. And upon posting, if I come here and refresh, we'll see our sales order is now closed. And we can take a look at our relationship map. And we now have a delivery created in the system, right? So it's a pretty quick process in this case, but we know somebody's coming up to grab some, replenishment, some products to replenish their storefront. He owns a little bodega around the corner. He just needs a couple bags of licorice, couple WiSys bars, and he's coming up to grab it from, our stock room here because his shipment's not coming for a couple more days. So we just hurry up, throw an order in whenever he gets here. We scan the product that we're giving to him to make sure we're accurately taking it out of the system. We don't want a situation where we're writing down that he took 5 of each and we got to go add that later, right? We take our scanner, we grab the product he needs, we scan it when we grab it to make sure we're doing that all in real time, add it to his tote, scan the other product, add it to his tote. He's paid, he's good. We create the delivery here in SAP and move forward. That process is done, and we can wait for another store manager to call us up and come and get some products. So that's the first way to do it, a really simple kind of one-off situation way, a simple way that a lot of companies do things like that out of their stock room. But now we're going to look at a more formal way. We're going to have a bigger shipment. So when we talked about Ben Jones saying his shipment was coming on Friday, today is the shipment for store 003. Those go out on Tuesdays. So our manager here, Sue Abel, we're going to deliver product to her every Tuesday. She's going to fill out a form and tell us, hey, this is what I need on my delivery, right? And we do it every week. We just send one of our own trucks that we have. We have several box trucks in our fleet. We load that truck up, send it on its way, and on its route, maybe the first stop here is store 003 because it's 15 minutes down the road. We're going to drop off some product to her. So here in this case, we're doing a couple of different things. For this more formal process, so we have 40 licorice and 10 WiSys bars. So we have some structure to how we're going to do things here. First, we made a pick list. So we have our pick list here. Pick list 459, and we delegated batches to this order, right? So we went and looked and we found the 2 batches that expire the soonest that are not currently expired because we want to get those out, right? We want to go with the closest expiration date first so our product's not expiring sitting on the shelves in our warehouse. So here I used SAP Pick and Pack Production Manager to select batches that are going to expire. If I jump back to my grid, I can see with licorice here, YYR 56. So if I jump back here and we go down to that YYR 56, we can see it expires on 3/14. Everything else expires later. We do have another batch that expires. Well, that's actually the same one in a different bin. So YYR 56 in this bin expires on 3/14. That's what we're going to take out there. Same situation for our other batch for our WiSys bars here. We have this TU449, and if we go to our WiSys bars, we see TU449 expires here on 3/15. No other WiSys bars expire anywhere near that. So we're going to force our pickers to grab the soonest to expire items in this case. So that's why we use Pick and Pack Production Manager to create our pick list here. Another piece, structured piece of this whole process that I want to talk about too is the quantities. So she ordered 40 blue raz licorice bags and 10 WiSys bars. Our standard for both of these products is every 10 go in a carton, right? We have a full, so carton is full at 10. We build out a carton of these items. So she has 4 cartons worth of licorice and 1 carton worth of WiSys bars. We pack those up in boxes for easy transportation for our truck driver. So, loose licorice and chocolate bars aren't flying all over the place in the back whenever he's distributing it. So in this case, we're going to package those up, but typically when we get to 2 rows worth of cartons, we would wrap a pallet. Now, I didn't want to go crazy doing a ton of cartons here. So in this situation, we're going to say that our manager, Sue, called up and she said, hey, I know it's not your standard process, but would you guys be able to wrap my licorice on a pallet? I could really use the skid, and it's going to be sitting on the skid for a day or two anyway. So could you just wrap all 4 of those cartons up on one pallet and distribute me a whole pallet of that? And we oblige. We like to take care of our customers. So in this case, we're going to pack the 4 cartons that we make for the licorice onto a pallet and then ship her, that pallet of 4 cartons of licorice. So all 40 bags of licorice will be on that pallet. Then loose, not on a pallet, we're going to ship her, her box, her carton of 10 WiSys bars. So that's the process. So the first step here in the process, I'm going to open back up my pick list, and we're going to pull our handheld up, and we're going to start with our pick to carton application. So this allows you to follow a pick list and pack the items from that pick list directly into a carton. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new shipment. We don't have a shipment yet. And of course, if we don't have a shipment, we don't have a carton. So we're going to start with a new shipment, and we're going to scan our pick list here. So, I'm the warehouse worker. I had a paper pick list printed out for me at the start of the day that has my orders that I need to fill for our box trucks whenever they go out for our actual shipment. So here I'm going to do my first shipment, going to pack it up. I have this pick list 459, and it's just for this order 1128. So I'm going to scan that order. Then I'm going to go ahead and scan my first item. It's going to be, we'll do the chocolate bars first because it's just 1 carton. And then we need to make sure we scan the right bin and batch. So first, we start with bin here. Now we see in the background here that our bin is 05C1. Just for example, if I scan in 0517 and try and pick a batch that's not going to be, the soonest to expire, I'll get an error back. That's an invalid bin. That's not the bin for the batch that we selected, right? We allocated specific batches to go out on this shipment because we want to make sure we're getting rid of our soonest to expire batches the quickest so that we don't have expired product in our warehouse, right? So that's going to error out every time. So I need to make sure I scan the right bin, 05C1. Then I need to make sure I scan the right batch as well. And there it is, that TU449 FES. And now I can proceed by picking my 10 WiSys bars and adding them to this new carton. And after doing so, we will see that we now have a new carton number, 10218. I can print out a shipping label for the carton. So I print that out, I can stick that on the carton there. And then if I scroll up, we'll see we now have a new shipment as well, 292. That's going to be our shipment moving forward. Now I can proceed with the picking process and do the cartons of our licorice. So I'm going to press the new carton button. I did my 10 of the WiSys bars. That box is full. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my licorice. So I'm going to scan my licorice item. Again, if I scan the wrong bin, we'll get an error. So we want to make sure we scan the correct bin. Then also just to show you, if I scan the wrong batch, a batch that is not the soonest to expire batch, I will also get an error there. So there you go. I scanned the batch that was for the chocolate bar, got an error again. So I scanned the right batch this time. I'm good to go now. I'm going to do 10 for this carton, hit enter. So we'll have another new carton packed, 10219. Going to skip labels because this is going to take a minute if I print all of the labels. We hit new carton again, do the same exact process, right? Scan our item, scan our bin, scan our batch. You see how fast the process can be, right? Takes a second there. I did them all. Now I could just hit OK here, print my label. That's how you would do it in the warehouse, right? But you would actually have it automatically print, so you wouldn't have all these prompts. You just have it print automatically to a label printer. Now I can go to my third carton. All right. And you see, even if I'm scanning a little faster than the screen's loading, it can keep up with me. It knows the scans in the order I did the scan, so I can fly through this form. And one more new carton for us. And 10 more of that. All right, so now you see we're fully picked. We picked that whole pick list. Again, I'm getting prompted to print labels. That would automatically happen in the warehouse. Now I'm picked and I have my shipment 292. So let's jump over to Agility Explorer. And first, if we take a look at those batches that we just did, we'll see that some have moved to our bin 05S. So if I refresh here, we'll see that now in our 05S bin, we did already have some from a prior shipment I was testing earlier. So we have additional, it went from 40 to 80 there. And we also now have 10 of our WiSys bar in our shipping bin as well. So those items have been moved to the dock. They're ready to go out on a shipment. They're packed in boxes. So we have new boxes for each item packed onto a shipment. We can check here in our inventory palette view grid. And we can see all the new cartons that I made as well. So if we sort this here by package number, we can see the new cartons I made, starting with our chocolate bar, right? So we had carton 10218 all the way to 10222. They're all on shipment 292 in our staging bin. And one more thing I can also check in Fulfillment Manager here, if I go to Sales, Fulfillment Manager, and take a look at what the actual shipment 292 looks like. And what we're going to see here is 5 cartons, right? One has chocolate bars, the rest have our licorice. So now, in this case, I want to honor Sue's request of giving her a pallet of the licorice instead of just 4 loose boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tailored application. And again, usually the case here is, let's say I had 30 boxes of this, right? We're going to want to palletize that instead of delivering 30 individual boxes. We're going to wrap it up in one pallet, drop it off to Sue nice and tidy like that, right? So this is a very common case for companies that do a lot of individual boxes of their products, like candy, where you're packaging it up and combining it into boxes. This is very common that we get asked for tailored applications like this. It's just very different dependent on the company it's asking for it, right? We've seen this process done in, all kinds of different ways, shapes, and sizes. So in this case, I'm going to use a tailored application to just quickly scan these 4 licorice cartons, 10219 to 10222. I'm going to scan them onto a new pallet on our shipment 292 here. So if I jump over to my handheld, close out of this because we're fully picked. Also, it's worth noting if I refresh my pick list here, you'll see it's now picked. All of those items are picked. And if we jump to our sales order, we'll also see that the pick statuses for those items have changed from released to yes, they are picked. So now we're ready to go and ship this out. But first, I want to do a little additional packaging here. I'm going to jump to my pallets menu. And here I have a tailored add carton to pallet form. And this is a very, very simple form. What it allows me to do here is I can grab my shipment and I can see if there's any pallets on the shipment. So I could add the cartons to an existing pallet. If there are not, I can hit enter to build a new pallet. And now I can see a list of all the cartons on the shipment and quickly add them to the pallet. So here I want to do 219 through 222. I just select it. Now on the actual warehouse floor, I'd be scanning each of these, right? So I scan 219. Now I scan 220. Now I scan 221, and then I scan 222. And just like that, they're all added to this new package, 10223, a pallet, and it's on our shipment 292. So that if I jump back over to Fulfillment Manager here, this is what our shipment originally looked like. If I refresh, we'll see we now have a pallet as our header package, and all of those cartons are underneath of it, right? So cartons 219 through 222, all of our licorice is on that pallet, packed, wrapped, ready to go just the way Sue requested it. And then we do still have this loose box of our WiSys bars here. And now we're ready to ship out our shipment. So we built this shipment up. My truck driver's here at the dock. He's ready to go. Again, this is just our own company box truck that we use to drive around to several little convenience stores in the area and drop off product. He's ready to go. We're going to load him up. And once he's ready to go out the door, I'm going to press TL/LTL here to get him a packing slip and BOL and any other documents he needs. Print that out. We're just skipping entering weight today, but there's obviously additional information I could enter here. And now we're going to ship this out of the system here once we give that a second to load. So if we go back to our 292, we'll see we have a shipped shipment. All of our statuses are S here, shipped. And if we jump back to SAP, we'll see our sales order is now closed with, again, a relationship map showing our SO delivery here of our 40 Blue Raz licorice and our 10 WiSys bars. Now, the last piece I wanted to talk about with this, I'm just glossing over because as you can see, we've used pretty much all of our time today. If this company did in fact fulfill sales orders from online purchases, let's say, we have an integration between WiSys and our EDI, our orders that come in from online, we fulfill them using Agility shipping. So we want to use UPS or FedEx to allow those customers who purchased online to track. Of course, that customer could just use Agility shipping. They'd purchase Agility shipping. And then from within here, they would have the mapping set up. So whatever the shipping type is on that sales order, they could easily, ship it with FedEx or UPS, getting that integration and that ability to track. So that's one other use case, especially with a company that does something like candy, right? I might get an online order for 3 WiSys bars and 7 bags of licorice. I could just pack those into a carton like we did, right? We say 10 to a carton. That's exactly 10 items. Pack them up in a carton and then ship it out UPS or FedEx for whatever that customer who ordered it elected to order it through. So pretty easy integration there too, and good use case for Agility shipping. I just don't really have the time to show that the whole way through today, but lots of different ways to fulfill sales orders in the food industry. And that brings us to what all we've covered today. So again, we walked through the case study of a candy company that does wholesale of, like gummy candy and licorice and things like that. So in this case, we received in some licorice. We used the manufacturer who provided us the products. We used their batch and their expiration date, entered that in to make sure we're tracking correctly. Then we manufactured our own chocolate bars because we manufacture chocolate products, and we created our own batch and added the expiration date based on the rules that we have for when we know that product will expire. I said 4 months, so I pushed it out to July and had an expiration date of July 12th. Then we tracked the batches and the expiration dates using our batch availability with bins grid on the desktop product here in Agility Explorer. It's a very helpful grid. We use conditional formatting to tell us if we had expired products in the warehouse with some visual cues by turning those batches red. And then we used our tailored expired batch issue form to issue those out of our inventory. And then lastly, we got into the fulfillment side. We talked about packaging and fulfilling orders. We did that simple stockroom / cash and carry fulfillment process there, where you're just getting a sales order on the fly. Somebody's coming up. We don't need to do a whole shipment. So we just use SO delivery to quickly get those items out of inventory and into the hands of the customer. But then we also had our LTL process there, where we're doing the brick and mortar replenishment with an actual shipment, packaging all of our loose candy into cartons so that it's safe for shipping, loading that into our own box truck, and even palletizing some of those cartons that we've packaged and shipping that out to the customers LTL, because we're using our own trucking. And we did discuss online orders as well and how we can fulfill those, integrated with EDI, as well as integrated with FedEx and UPS by using Agility shipping. So that's all I had for you today. I know this was quite a long one. We used about our whole time. I want to leave a little bit of time here for questions.